So, BlizzCon stuff.
Yep.
I see you're looking at Con Before the Storm, where all the who's who of Warcraft goes to the night before the protest. The convention.
Yep.
Did you sign up?
No, man. You think I want to be put into that sort of situation? You know, sitting on a table, totally ignored, people looking at me like who the heck is SoulSoBreezy? No thanks. Wait a minute, what the heck, dude? Bob, really? You're going?
Yeah, man. I'm super famous now.
Oh, is that right? Bob, Sex Machine? Really, your last name is Sex Machine.
No, Hawkeye, my last name is Machine. My middle name is Sex. It's gonna be awesome.
Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that is all about delivering balanced news for all things Warcraft.
Sylvanas, she drops into the toilet. She drops into the frozen throne, and she just disappears. We have no idea what's going on.
Balanced, huh?
Dude, it was a joke.
You Sylvanas bootlicker, you. What other fantasies are running in your head?
Hey, I'm not the one who went on for like half an hour the other day talking about that librarian Sylvanas dream.
You said you'd never mention it in public.
Balanced or not, this show is brought to you by the wonderful viewers at home, that's you folks, as well as the sponsors that keep me caffeinated. Let's give a warm welcome to Eric and to Ivalis, Ivalis, the newest members of our family. It only took 66 hours to break their spirits. I grow on you, kind of like a fungus. So let's get to some news, starting with the present. This week, the Mythic Hall of Fame for the Eternal Palace was completed. 100 Alliance guilds joined 100 Horde guilds in defeating Queen Ashara. Unsurprisingly though, the difference in speed between the Horde and Alliance to complete their Hall of Fame requirements remains unchanged. The Alliance tends to complete their top 100 about a month after the Horde, with the exception of the Crucible of Storms raid. Crucible of Storms is like the boxing match that happens after the main event, and that it really shouldn't happen. Everyone's tired, or they went home, or they just realized how much money they threw away so they can watch a 5-minute match, and they just want to go out and drink the rest of the night away. We're coming up on Season 4 of Battle for Azeroth in the next couple of months, and there isn't any indication that the faction imbalance is going to be fixed anytime soon. If anything, it's going to get worse after 8.3, when the Vulpera and the Mechagnomes are introduced. Robotic gnomes are pretty cool, and I definitely like Mechagon more than I like Vol'dun.
Here we go with the Horde bias. Wait a minute.
But it's almost painfully clear that the public wants their furries more than they want their shorties.
Because they have me. They have no need for hideous hybrids. Although, oh wow, she's pretty fine.
How many of you are going to race change to a Vulpera or a Mechagnome? Or are you going to straight up change factions for one or the other? Let us know. On sale right now is the World of Warcraft pop-up book, a pop-up book that costs over $50. Need I say more?
Yeah?
Oh, okay. This pop-up book features the celebrated capitals of the Warcraft universe: Stormwind, Orgrimmar, Lordaeron, Teldrassil, Ironforge, Borealis, Zuldazar, and not Suramar. Really? Like, not Suramar? Shoulda, woulda, coulda? Anyway, let's take a trip over to WoW Classic Land, where the community is happy and the content is done. This week, the Dire Maul instance opened up, bringing to players another dungeon to use for leveling, as well as getting more awesome stuff, like the Dreadsteed mount for Warlocks, the Paladin's Charger mount, and Quell Sarar. PC Gamer released the rest of an interview that was done with game director Ian Has a Plan Man. He had his own fond memories to share about Classic, but the meat of the interview comes from the design approach between Classic and what he calls modern WoW. He says this in the interview: "I don't think this is the case where the lesson or the takeaway is to ever to borrow specific mechanics directly or remove things that we added just to return to Classic. Classic is there for those who want to play it, and I don't think that, say, removing flying mounts permanently will suddenly endear World of Warcraft in the hearts of millions of players. We learned that lesson trying that a few years back. The different path, really, is looking at some of the purely positive outcomes: the sense of community, the reasons for cooperation with others, the meaningful progression, that feeling of striving for rewards that you don't think are going to be replaced right away, and asking ourselves, how can we incorporate those elements into modern World of Warcraft in a way that's consistent with the world and the systems without compromising the game." It certainly sounds like one path to take is to just move backward, to just go with what's been proven to be good for the game,
and then squeeze it for all that it's worth.
He makes a point though, and there are numerous examples where the WoW team you just can't close some doors. So instead, Ian wants to embrace the fact that if players want to enjoy the old experience, well, it's there now. WoW Classic is no longer just a dream or a fringe corner of the internet. It's here, out in the open. It'll catch the wayward players who prefer the old style. Meanwhile, Ian is going to take modern WoW, today's WoW, and then push forward and try to reinvent itself into something fresh that stands out and, of course, is fun. That sounds like really scary though. And in 2 weeks, we're going to find out just how awesome or scary this future is. But let me know in the comments if you think Ian is making the right choice here, or how do you take his response? For those who watch me frequently, especially on the weekly shows, in just about all of them, I tend to say,
Toilet.
okay, yeah, I say the toilet thing, but also in just about every video, I tell you to come back for more of this and all things Warcraft. That includes the newest re-entry into the franchise, Warcraft 3 Reforged. After months of silence, the Reforged team finally decided to peek their head out with a build that was completely dismantled and mined, and in some cases played. And there's a lot to show. Fantastic looking models, a lot of models, crazy skins, references to present day Azeroth too. And honestly, it's too much to just sit down and go over. So instead, I invite you to check out the Wowhead links below and check out all the prettiness. That said though, hey Blizzard, can you just put that mount in game please? Oh, it looks so good.
Oh, Borsylvatus bootlicking icy.
Bootlicking? Shut up, dude. This is for the Scourge, bro.
Oh, that's right. You're still a horde cuck.
This makes me wonder though. Seeing Warcraft 3 Reforged is like seeing a glimpse of what's possible if, and when I say if, I mean it's probably not going to happen, if there is a massive graphical update to the world of Warcraft that doesn't just raise the pixels, but alters the very art style of WoW itself. Will this be something worth waiting for? It is certainly pretty to look at, that's for sure. Moving on, 2 8.3 PTR builds came out this week. It did help a lot to reduce crashes so that we can do some testing, but it also provided much more context on what Ian was talking about when it came to having a mage tower-like experience with horrific visions. As you know, horrific visions are scenarios that can be done either solo or in a group. Your objective is to complete as much of it as possible until you're either defeated or your sanity runs out. Special masks will be found throughout your experience, and they can be used before starting your vision to make the experience tougher. And in doing so, will unlock additional rewards. This experience, especially if you collect all of these masks and basically use every debuff affix at once, is going to be really hard. And you can basically see horrific visions as a kind of Mythic Plus dungeon. Throughout testing, past the bugs and the early deaths, I started to get that familiar feeling that I had back in my days of the Mage Tower. It was tough, but slowly I was learning the routine, picking up on tricks, adjusting my talents, and so on. And then I screw up again, so oh well. I'm not trying to do too much testing on it because I don't want to get ahead of myself and spoil myself, but so far I'm having a lot of fun. On the other side of things, raid testing is underway in Ny'alotha, the Waking City. The Waking City, holy cow. Among others, WoW had captured some footage of the raid itself during testing. In my opinion, this place looks amazing. It's the kind of amazing where you want to ask yourself, why didn't Blizzard just do this instead of rehashing old zone content? Ew. To which I would answer with a question. Why didn't Blizzard make Ny'alotha feel like more of a threat by attacking Azeroth instead of us doing yet another, take the fight to the bad guy thing while nothing happens on Azeroth in the meantime? Or both, right? Why not both? With no one happy, I guess that's kind of a compromise, right?
That's not how it works.
Silence. Ny'alotha is massive, and it's got to be a home to its 12 bosses. Thankfully though, after years of waiting, Blizzard has finally given us a questline that lets us skip bosses in this raid. In this case, completing the quest will let you skip all the way to the 11th boss after clearing out the first one. But that's kind of a big jump, right? Now keep in mind that testing is going on. In fact, as of this recording, there's a test going on, so we might find additional quest lines that will unlock additional skips of sorts. The way I see it, between 12 bosses, Ny'alotha is going to be split into a couple of wings for the purposes of the raid finder. 3, maybe 4 wings. So why not just have that many opportunities to skip bosses? Oh, what, you got nothing to say?
I have no quip.
That's weird. That's very, very weird. Are you sure you're okay?
Your awakening draws near. Your eyes open.
Okay, that was weird. I blacked out for a second. Ooh, kidney's gone. But let's move on. I know what you're here for. Maybe you use the navigation links to jump straight here because you want to get straight to what's going on with this ongoing Death Knight speculation, and that's totally okay. I mean, sure, you might have skipped the part where I was talking about doing a drawing for a virtual ticket giveaway, but that's totally okay. Actually, I'm just kidding about that, but let's see who pretends to get trolled by it. So, Death Knights. Again. I talked about it last week, and I went totally off the rails the other day on stream. In fact, I'm just gonna write that one off as the one of the week, but hey, no regrets. The Death Knight hype has been growing, and this week's PTR has only made it grow even greater, with introducing not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Death Knight weapons that indicate something. That's what the internet has been fussing over all week. Here are the swords right here. We have an Unholy, a Crimson, and a Freezing Blade of the Ebon Blade. That's easily the worst description that I've ever described. 4 weapons, all 2-handed swords at least so far, and 2 models that I'll have right here. Thanks, Wowhead. So let's go over some of the possibilities, starting with the easy one. Are we gonna get a 2-handed Frost Death Knight again? Probably not in a patch, or even a major patch. Are we likely to see a massive gameplay change like, hey, let's bring back 2-handed Frost? Enhancement Shaman would just weep over that one. But could this change come in an expansion? Who knows? Most of the fandom's focus is on this particular sword though, the Burning Blade of the Ebon, well, you know what I mean. We haven't seen a Death Knight centric sword of fire before. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, at least not to the original Death Knights. Pop quiz, folks. The Lich King is strongly associated with what?
The complexity of a hero who was dragged down by loss and finally succumbed to his warped sense of protecting the world by turning it into a stronghold for the living dead.
I meant like ice, you know, he's associated with ice, you know, yeah.
Oh. Well, I just made you feel really dumb then. You should have specified.
Bolvar the Lich King is more than what Arthas was. Bolvar was burned by the fires of the Red Dragonflight, which kept him alive but maimed. I think that would be pretty convenient when he's finally outed to the public. Like, imagine Talia learning about him and she'd cry, hey, I heard you're my dad, why didn't you say anything? And Bolvar can be like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, look at him. If he tries to deny it, what are people gonna do? Argue? If the fires of the Red Dragons are coursing through him, is it really that unreasonable to think that if he was going to make Death Knights, that his generation of Death Knights would have a slightly different look? Instead of the cold blue eyes of Arthas' Death Knights, we'll see like this warmer orange glow that comes from Bolvar's Death Knights. It's kind of like a song of ice and fire. Maybe. And maybe that's just as far as it goes. Allied race Death Knights with different glowing eyes who start out with a basic sword before they learn the ways of the other Death Knight disciplines before they go off, fully grown and undead. Mr. GM pointed out in a recent video that the 4 swords appear to be lumped in as quest rewards that also include one of the old school weapons from the original Death Knight questline. So the quest hasn't revealed itself yet, so obviously it's subject to change. We can kind of understand the intent though. It appears that, well, the fact that you can simply choose your weapon, knowing that you'll be able to unlock all the other transmog options with it, that kind of takes the excitement away. But what if this isn't as far as it goes? What if this is just the tip of the ice crown citadel? Oh, I'm good.
Wow.
I am so good. What if it is, as some people on the internet are speculating, that these 4 swords are a sign that a 4th specialization is coming to the Death Knight class? Can there be a kind of fiery Death Knight coming to WoW? And does this mean that other classes are going to get additional specs too? But let me stick the conversation here to Death Knights. So some people have said that the Hellfire Death Knight, which I think is a pretty cool name, would be really neat. It sounds neat, at least until we kind of remember that the fire came from a red dragon, so it's kind of hard to sell the hell part. We also want to consider what this specialization is going to be like. A fourth spec on a plate-wearing melee and tank hybrid. Do we need another melee spec? I think it's easy enough to agree no, we don't. So could this fourth spec instead be a ranged plate DPS spec, the first of its kind? A Death Knight that breathes fire and throws flaming skulls or something. With that in mind, it must feel bad to be a mage or a warlock because now there's a third class to split fire spells in between. Maybe Death Knights will use their Death Grip and they'll take away whatever fire abilities Shaman have left. Or could a Death Knight be a healer who cauterizes wounds with fire like, now you know how the Lich King feels. So I don't know. But as unlikely as some of these possibilities are, it's all on the table. Anything goes. Except apparently, Sylvanas raising Death Knights is a big no. Like, sheesh, tough crowd. But personally, I'm gonna go with something that's just a lot more grounded. I'm sure that in a future PTR build, we're going to actually see the quests along with the rewards, and they're going to adjust things. Maybe the one-hander, maybe that one-hander sword will go away, and the two-handed frost sword, that's gonna be changed into a one-hander. So, sorry, two-hand frost fans. And I'm gonna guess that when you finish this whole Death Knight questline, you can just choose the weapon you want between blood, frost, and unholy, and you're just automatically given this burning weapon as a keepsake or something. Heck, maybe it's backwards and you start off with this burning sword, and by the time you're done with the experience you decide what spec you want, and boom, then you get this other weapon. So I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but if this burning sword is a reward that's given later on, why? Maybe it's just because it's a graduation gift. Here you go, champion, I made this. I think it looks pretty awesome and it won't incinerate you. But maybe this isn't so festive. Maybe this is the last gift from Bolvar after some sort of event leaves him defeated or maybe killed at the end of this questline. What if the events that we're about to see are going to mark the end of the Lich King's legacy? I'm sure you're already leaving a comment, no, so there must always be a Lich King, Bolvar himself said so, but yeah, this came from Bolvar, right? Like, since when does there always need to be a Lich King? The undead existed long before the Lich King, and they're gonna be around after he's gone too. Forcing the Lich King to be a narrative device is the dead horse. It's going to always compel players to keep asking when this race or that race is going to be a Death Knight as we go from expansion to expansion. Blizzard is going to have to keep updating the Death Knight questline every couple of expansions, and I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough if Bolvar were to pinky promise, oh, I'm not going to make any more Death Knights, but I'm still going to be around. The fans will continue to ask and wonder and hope and bitch about it. This is just my opinion, but I think that it would be fine if this next generation of Death Knights also happened to be the last one. But I'd like to hear your thoughts too. And shoot, I did not get to talk about the auction house updates, but it's awesome, all right? It's awesome. I'm going to try to get that in soon, but until then, that's the show. So it's less than 2 weeks until BlizzCon, and I am a mix. I'm a mess. I'm a mix of excitement and nervousness too. You folks know me, I try to be optimistic, but I'm not blind to the anti-Blizzard cloud that is most definitely going to be hovering over Anaheim. A lot of eyes are going to be on this event, not just looking out for some awesome announcements, but for the next person on the mic to savage Blizzard, whether it's justified or not. Combine that fear with some of these forced politics, I don't think Blizzard is going to ignore that, so we're going to have to see just how safe the convention organizers are going to try to make BlizzCon. Are they going to allow regular people to be able to talk during the broadcasts? Is there still going to be a Q&A with the live audience? Who's going to play closing ceremonies this time? We're probably going to find out that stuff starting next week. And whether it's inside or outside of the convention, how big are the demonstrations going to be? I at least want to be clear that I definitely do not mind if people want to show up and protest. My only thing on that is that I hope the demonstrations are peaceful. Otherwise, I'm excited for this year's BlizzCon. There's a lot going on for Warcraft with the upcoming Reforged release, WoW Classic, there's going to be a new expansion, of course, and there's a lot more in store that we don't know about, the least of which is probably some sort of Warcraft-themed mobile pet battle game thing. So I think I'm ready. I have some basic equipment to do some sit-down interview stuff with developers, if I can book one. And I have a bunch of snazzy guild shirts that I'll show you as soon as mine comes in, but they're pretty cool. I feel like a dad dressing up his kids on a family trip. It'll be freaking embarrassing and epic. And the excitement is greater than my anxiety. I'm gonna meet a few new guildmates in person. Maybe I'll find some of you on the show floor. I'm gonna have chicken and waffles, of course, grab a couple of selfies with fellow content creators. Maybe have a few drinks. And hey, Taliesin, I'm gonna call you out right here. Boom, calling you out. Yeah, I'll take you up on the offer. Let's have a drink, but let's have it neat, because I'm not really a beer person, thanks. But I'm going to enjoy BlizzCon, and I'll share that experience with you in just a couple of weeks. As for next week, I'm going to give it another go on telling you about the updated auction house from the perspective of a casual gold making person. Basically, it's awesome, and I'm going to spend no less than 10 minutes as to why. Otherwise, the next 2 weeks is really going to be about the BlizzCon hype and the coverage. Maybe I'll spend a stream prepping another BlizzCon hype train sort of thing. It should be fun. This is also when the more viable leaks start to show up. Which one of them is right? We're gonna have to see. Anyway, let's get out of here. I want to thank you very, very much for watching and making it all the way to the end, but I'm more than happy to have you over on my Discord channel and on the Twitch streams. Feel free to drop in and say, what up? Of course, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed yourself and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.
Quell, Sarar. I hope I make one for me. Oh, I still need to get to 60. Quell, Sarar.